Yes, yes, yes,
Pay it forward,
yes.
I fail. If it don't work out, I just go back to where I'm from.
All right, let's get us rocking and rolling. Man, it is a mega magical Make It Happen Monday. It's always good to get started with Dr. Eric Thomas. So, for those of you who are watching live or watching the replay, man, I am here today on this mega magical Make It Happen Monday, and we've been rocking and rolling for the last few weeks with Mr. L. David Harris. What up, Dave?
What up, man? I'm not even like I'm showered, I'm shaved, I'm shined, but I gotta wipe a little bit of sweat off. No disrespect to anybody who's freezing right now, but gotta wipe a little bit of this off, man, because it's nice and warm over here, man.
Yeah, man. Well, you look like you in like Miami or one of these hot places. Where you at?
Listen, I'm in Jamaica, land we love, bro. Like if I showed you the view out there, you'd be mad at me. So don't even worry about it, man. We doing all right. We doing all right out here on the island.
I love it. I love it. From the Jamaica town.
Yeah.
Man. Well, Dave, man, we have been talking for the last couple of weeks, man, on authenticity awareness. And we have been getting a whole bunch of comments and questions. And I didn't tell you this morning, but we actually had 3 questions from our previous session. So can we
how much I loved you know how much I love that, man.
Yeah, 100%. So from our previous discussions on authenticity, awareness, and so forth, Lisa Knowles says, David, you have been amazing. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. My question is, how do you rediscover your authenticity?
Well, the first thing is to get alone. Get alone, like shut off the noise. You're the only one that knows what the noise is. I mean, I'm not saying it needs to be quiet, but like right now, if I didn't have on these filters, you would hear nature. You would hear the breeze, have different fruit trees around, and I can just be still in nature. And it's in that moment. I don't know if you're a person of faith or not. If you are, then you can ask the one who created you, like, what am I here for? Like they did in Calm 101. Remember that in university? What's your name? Why are you here?
Yeah.
But in any case, though, taking a notepad or some device, whatever it is that you like, and saying, what do I love? And you don't put any context on it. What do I love? Do I love fruits? Do I love assisting people? If it's assisting people, then in what way? Right? And you can do a lot of things like that. Also, ask yourself, like T and I, before we came live, he said that there were some folks who sought counsel from him. I imagine that with T, people do that on a regular basis. So Lisa, from time to time. So Lisa, there are things that people come to you for. They may come to you for a smile. They may come to you for guidance. They may come for you for expertise in particular areas. So when you sit down and write those down and say, you know what, people come to me just to talk sometimes, then your purpose is attached in some way to people wanting to hear your voice, hear your experience, your wisdom. So that's a simple exercise before you get into like some kind of expert rediscovery. That's basic. Quietude. What do people come to me for? What do I love? And then you get to drill down from there.
Yeah, I love your answer on that. And the fact of the matter, David, is her even asking that question shows the level of her authenticity of where she's at as well. So shout out to Lisa on asking that question. The second question we got is from Derek Wellington. Derek says, man, you guys have been on fire. Thank you very much. David, what is your core value that guides you?
Well, my core value is based in believing that the power bigger than me actually created me. So that puts me in a position where I have to be responsible. There's a way that I must speak to you. There's a way that I must welcome you if if I see you somewhere or we experience each other in social media. And so baseline is that I'm responsible to the one who created me. But secondarily, which is almost as important to me, is family. I didn't have the most wonderful family growing up. I didn't choose that one, but this one I chose. I chose my wife, and my wife chose me 21 years ago. I chose to have a son. His name is Josiah. He came into this family unit. And so for me, family is essential. So those are core values: responsibility to the creator and responsibility to my family. And then ultimately responsible to the community that looks to me for whatever it is that I offer the world.
That's fantastic. Derek, thank you very much for submitting your question. Really appreciate that. Last question is from Sheila. Sheila Wellington. Okay, so maybe these is either sisters or a spouse. Okay.
Wonderful. Mm-hmm.
Sheila said, what are your three surprising things you discovered about yourself when you found your authenticity? Okay, let me repeat that. What are your three surprising things you discovered about yourself when you found your authenticity? Well, that's good.
Yeah. So I'll go with one that's low-hanging fruit. It is, I am an introvert in every way. That's hard for some people to believe because I have this camera on all the time and a microphone. But my authenticity, even though I am introverted, the creator gave me gifts that reach out of myself. So normally I'm in a 9-foot by 5-foot box, that direction, steel, like rebar, cement blocks, a steel door, a bunch of studio padding and lights, camera, action. I love to be in that place. But the fact is that like my calling is outside of that space. So that's surprising to me because until 1997, I behaved fully like an introvert. But the creator pulled me out of my shell to say, like, he didn't say it this way clearly, but I'm speaking in my voice. Like, I get all of that about introvertedness. I created you that way. However, there are people out there that need something that I put inside of you. So you can't just hide. You can't do that. So that's surprising to me. I would go with something that my friend Darrell taught me just around the same time. And I think we talked about it here, T, where he taught me to speak so I could be heard, not just to speak. So
what does that mean? What does that mean?
I figured that if I said something in language that the other person understands, like if I'm speaking in English, I used to be into Russian, I used to be into Hebrew, Korean. Like if I'm speaking in a language that you understand, I'm thinking that should be good enough. Like when I had an immature mindset. But what he taught me was there were ways to speak and to wholesale communicate that I was not hitting the target. And he wasn't afraid of whatever bravado or influence or expertise that others may have thought about me having. He was just like, yeah, that's not working out. The way that you communicate is not enough. It's subpar. You need to speak so you could be heard. So I think like the surprise was, wait a minute, people are not getting this. I thought I was clear. And he was like, yeah, clear, but it's painful when people listen to you sometimes. So it was from that time that I learned, oh, wait a minute, it's not just what you say, it's not just how you say it. There is so much more. And creators showed me how to tap into the so much more. So people generally, even if there are misunderstandings, people generally get me, and it's not so painful anymore. Another, I think a big one is becoming a family man. I have all the risk factors for not being that. And also when I was not married and some years before that, I would never commit fully to a woman.
Mm.
I wouldn't commit. I mean, I didn't act like I was committing and then not commit. I just wouldn't commit. And because it was like, it's not necessary. I'm enjoying my life the way it is. And nobody's upset. The women were not upset. Things were, fine. We enjoy ourselves and move on. But when I started to move into a mature space and then began to see the value in commitment on every level, including in relationships with the opposite sex, it was like, oh, wait a minute. I can stay with one woman like for more than pick a period of time. It's been 21 years. And there's zero regrets on either side of the thing. So that was surprising to me that I could be in a successful relationship with a woman. And in this case, now this woman is my wife, Simone.
Wow. Now that's good. Sheila, thank you very much for asking your question, and everyone who actually dropped those questions in the chat for us to review at a later date. We really appreciate you guys, whether you're watching live or on the replay and so forth. If you have future questions, be sure to go ahead and drop those questions in, and we will do our best to actually answer them in some form or fashion. Now, what's interesting is because Sheila asked that question and you answered it in a way that leads into our very topic for today. And this is interesting because, we always have these goals. We're always pleasing to everybody else.
Yes.
But very, very rare do we take the responsibility. So our topic for today is, what are the 5 ways to keep your word to yourself?
Listen, when you brought that one to me, I was like, oh, this is a zinger, like incoming, like this is serious.
Yeah.
And I didn't spend a lot of time trying to make up something. This is like we went top of mind because I believe in keeping my word to self first and to others. So the first one that I wrote it down, and I think it's appropriate that I should say this because number 1, record or write down your commitment. You may voice it into a little device. You may put it on your camera and say it. You may write it down, type it, put it on a whiteboard. One of my best friends writes on everything on a whiteboard, so he can look at it. Right. Some folks can't recall. It's as simple as that. Not all of us have the same behavior style. So if you've made a commitment to yourself or you have a word to yourself, some people literally just can't remember. What did I say I was going to do last week? What did I say I would do in the first quarter of 2023? I literally cannot recall. So recording it in some way that's tangible, somewhere for a point of reference, makes it makes it easier. Now, also, I would twin it with the concept of it being simple. So like, I'm going to change the world. I think we talked about that in terms of goals. Like that was our context that week. Like, don't just say change the world.
Yes.
It's wonderful. Like that's a dream, that's a vision, and that's appropriate for people who think that way. But like, it has no feet, it has no hands. Like, what does change the world look like? So to keep my word to myself about changing the world, maybe I will do X, Y, Z, specific things that will impact the world positively. So write it down and make sure that what you write down or record in some way is clear, simple, basic, so that you can actually put some feet on this thing.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And that's an interesting concept. It's so simple, but I think many of us have a habitual reaction that says we need to say yes or overcommit or something, or a way to please others when technically it doesn't align with our true values, but because we are overextending. Okay, so I like that. All right, so number one is in fact record it or write it down in some form or fashion
That's
while
right.
keeping it simple.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, number two.
All right. So that one was to you, like for yourself. Nobody knows where it is. They don't know if you put it on a leaf or under your pillow. They don't know what you did with that.
Mhm.
You may consider putting this in some kind of public facing medium.
Oh.
I don't know if you're going to type it in a tweet, if you're going to be on TikTok for just 1 minute. Like, you don't have to wax eloquently. You can say, I decided that in January 2023, I would spend more time, invest more time with fill in the blank person that's important to you, or fill in the blank community organization. You volunteer on Tuesdays, and boy, they haven't seen you in 2 weeks. What happened? So I am committing to invest this much time in January or by January, whatever way you want to put it, with the fill in the blank set of people. And that way, it's not only chronicled in your diary, right? It is now in a place where people can say, hey, T, like, when was the last time you went to place X to make your contribution? And that way it puts you in a position like, oh my, yeah, I did kind of put that out there, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how you say that because, you know, in my men's group on Sunday, one of the first disclosures that we give to the fellas is we are in a non-judgmental zone.
Mm-hmm.
And we are not competing with anyone but ourselves.
Okay, clear.
And you actually just touched that, because sometimes I believe we are faced with the intention of impressing others.
Yep.
For a reason that is only within ourselves, maybe because of lack of confidence, or maybe we are just attempting to perceive ourselves in a way. So I like the fact of putting it in public, but also knowing that public opinion does not and should not guide you for your target and your goal and objective.
That's right. I mean, think about it. Like, maybe the people who love you most and watch you most, Tirrell, don't know. Like, I'm a production professional. When I say production, I'm talking about media, right? I have a lot of media out there. I've led massive teams on massive events. And so the public who watches that, even when I was leading and not in front of the camera, as an example, have an expectation of me. Well, Tirrell and I decided, we committed to one another that we would do what we're doing right here. Now, I could always stay in my studio and be quite comfortable, framed up perfectly, perfect microphone, not wiping my face because I'm hot, because I'm thinking, well, what will the public think? Like, he's supposed to be a production dude and he's sitting outside sweating. Who does that? Well, at this moment, my consideration is not of that. It's what value can we add to people? And I keep picking up my water because I'm in the sun, man. I need to make sure I'm hydrated. I'm not going to drop out in front of y'all on the camera.
Yeah.
So the public matters, public opinion matters, but to what extent?
Yeah.
To the extent that I have to hurt myself, or to the extent that I have to hide or become embarrassed because I'm doing something real basic like wiping sweat, drinking water, and not framed up perfectly. Nah, man, that's not important. Not for this. We're not shooting a TV program. Come on, let's go.
Now, it's interesting that you say that because you're featured on a few hundred radio stations across the globe. But a conversation that I recently had with someone about putting your goals out in public, putting your variation, the way that we see ourselves and the way that the public sees you is also a variation of reality. So let me give you an example. He was saying that he thought that he was pretty buff, and he is, but his wife saw him as, hey, you're nice looking, but I know that you could be better.
Oh.
So there is a reality that we have in ourselves that could and be perceived as we being better than really what we really are.
True indeed.
So having the ability to have a good authenticity awareness of ourselves, but also having a key metric of reality that may also be in line with what the public like really sees of yourself as well. How important is that?
Yeah, it's critically important because one of our folks, I think it was Lisa, if I got the person wrong in our question earlier, asked about surprises, and I talked about family as one of them, valuing family in the way I do when I didn't come up with that, right? Well, my father, who wasn't a great father, but he was a great public leader, go figure. I remember listening to people saying from podiums, lecterns, like how wonderful this Harris was. And I'm like, boy, I just wish that person could come live with me. No, I'm not trying to disrespect him. I'm just saying. And so when at 20, I don't know, 7, 8, I'm married now, I'm getting into the time, I'm noticing that I have a lot of the same skills and gifts as my dad. Go figure. And then I started to hear these things coming across podiums and lecterns on microphones saying whatever, and make welcome L. David Harris, right? And, and I used to ask my wife early in our marriage, like, does that dude live with you?
Wow.
And now I got to position myself because she is so blunt, bro. I have to decide, like, is her true answer of enough value that I'll take it, regardless of what it is? Because she could have said, no, bro, I'm so glad you asked. I've been just waiting for an opportunity because you ain't nothing like what these people say you are. Yeah. You need to fix something, right? Thankfully, it didn't happen that way. But even if it had, I should have given thanks in that case, too, because now I know what I need to be working on.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Stephen A. Harris from ESPN was talking on The Breakfast Club. Stephen A., right? So he just wrote a book, and he was talking about how his father passed away and so forth. And he got on the podium and said about his father, I hear all the nice things that you guys have said to him, but I have a different perspective.
Yeah, Stephen A. and I grew up in the same area, man. I don't know him, but like when you watch him, like that was me before my man Daryl got to me. Like the way he be coming, that was me.
Yeah.
Same way.
Yeah, man, I love that. Okay, all right, fantastic. So number one in the top 5 ways to keep your word to yourself. Number 1 is to write it down. This is inclusive. This is something that we do for ourselves. Yes, Number 2 is to have a variation of commitments to the public. Whatever that may be, in some form or fashion, you have decided to make that public to the world so that they can also raise their hand in some form of fashion and say, hey, you said you were going to do X, Y, and Z. What's number 3?
Okay, so this is the turn up version of number 2. That is, I see Derek is on. I see T, we're together, right? I heard Lisa was there, depending on what the goals are, right? Yeah, maybe I need to have a specific now accountability partner or group. Accountability partner or group, because now on a predictable interval, I know Sunday morning at 8 a.m. somewhere in the world, there is an accountability group of men in this context. And they're going to open up. I've only been there one time, but I know one of the men, right? But they're going to open up at some point where people have to sort of be honest and say, all right, what did you commit to yourself? What did you commit to others? How's that working?
Right.
And so not having to pause, that's not what I mean. Being in a position to be honest and look a brother, look a sister in the eyes and say, I did or I did not keep my commitment to me. That's before you even go out to anybody else, whatever that commitment is. And so that is something, like a brother actually reached out to us in our coaching community and said, I see that you say you get up at 3 o'clock every morning. Can you help me be accountable? Now we're going to talk about authenticity. Authenticity. This is doctoral level authenticity right here.
Yeah.
So the brother said that, and he said, I need you. Could you please help me to stay on task? Now, my authentic self wants to help. That's what I do. I assist. And boy, I'm like, well, that's something I definitely can assist with. But I'm like, 3 o'clock in the morning. What does that look like for you, brother X? And he said, well, if I don't contact you by 3:30 a.m., then whatever way you choose, contact me. Authenticity alert. I don't contact people at 3 nothing in the morning. And it's no diss to our brother. He needed assistance. But when he said what he needed, I was like, boy, I need to think on another way that may be of assistance to you, because I don't go public facing until early as 4:30. From 3 to 4:30, that's personal and spiritual time. So I can't be of much assistance to you between 3 a.m. and 4:30.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
So, but he wanted accountability. We both wanted authenticity. In this moment, they kind of didn't jive. But at some point, perhaps, we will be able to get together and both of us can get what's necessary in this discussion.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. I think when you and I and we discover and uncover our authenticity, we can figure out what is appropriate.
Yes,
like what do we really need? Jot down those items that David is talking about. Do I need personal accountability? Do I need group accountability? And shout out to the King's Accountability Group.
Yeah, say it again, T. I'm asking you, say it again.
You know what I'm saying? The King's Accountability Group.com.
There you go, T. That's it.
But the reality is we all need something.
That's right.
But we have to know what it is that we need and humble ourselves in a matter that is true to where we are. And that's one thing that I love about you and others is that we have the humbleness to say, look, hey, this is where I am. This is what I'm really, really good at. And this is what I could use some assistance in without being judged in any form of fashion, but here to add value to the world where I walk and where I talk. So sweet. I am super loving number 3 of The 5 ways to keep yourself to yourself. Okay, let's go to number 4.
Yeah. So this may not apply to you, but it may very well apply to others, right? So just think of it in its principle, right? As a principle, depending on what motivates you. And this is going to really kind of fly in the face of all of my training in behavior modification and management. But I'm willing to break the rule today, right? Determine some consequence for breaking your word to yourself. But the consequence is not punitive. The consequence is like philanthropic. And it's like, well, now you're causing like a conflict in your brain, because it's like, yeah, well, I didn't do something and my consequence is to help somebody, as if that's negative. No, it's just another opportunity. It's another way to be of service, right? So if you break your promise to yourself, maybe you volunteer 2 nights in a homeless shelter in whatever way they might need. Now, they don't always just welcome people to do that, but you understand where I'm going.
Yes.
Or a soup kitchen, 2 weeks in a row, you may choose, if you break your promise to yourself, to be of service in a soup kitchen in your community or in some other community.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. By the way, I can hear the birds in your location bearing witness to what you are saying. It's kind of like, it's like being in the church, you know what I mean? And, and we got parishioners, you know, bearing witness.
Yes.
But the fact of the matter is, and which I love, is that you're saying, look, here is what I'm looking to accomplish. And if I don't keep my word to myself, I should go extra and do something that is adding value to the world. I remember reading like several years ago in the Eastern culture, where Prophet Muhammad was talking about fasting. And he was saying, look, if you cannot fast in this period of time, serve the homeless in some form of fashion, or do something that helps those who are unfortunate in the way of adding value to the lives of others. So they totally align with what you're saying.
That's true submission, man. So what I didn't use, with the words I didn't use, but I did put in my notes, this is hands-on. So money's wonderful, and there are a lot of causes that need your money, right? That's a little bit too easy, even if you don't have a lot of money, because at some point you can just click a button and boom, and that's it. Your account is a little smaller than it was before you click the button, and theirs is more enriched. That's wonderful. I think you should do that. But this needs to be where you're giving of yourself now. You're giving your breath, you're giving your energy, you're giving your time. These are investments, and I don't need to convince any of you that. You already know this, right? These are investments of inestimable value. Say those words 3 times, right? In a row. So we are thankful that we have the privilege to be able to reach outside of ourselves in that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
That's
good. Look, that is a very good operating principle. We're always talking about LOPs in some form of fashion. Like, what is your level of standard by which you keep your word to yourself? Now, David has already said, number 1, in the 5 ways of keeping your word to yourself is write it down or record it so that you have a system that allows you to remember.
System, you love that word, don't you? I saw what you did right there. I saw what you did right there.
Now, mind you, I said, remind yourself, because we're assuming that you just forgot and you did not intentionally make a promise that you weren't going to commit or follow through on.
Yeah, that's a whole different discussion.
Okay, I'm just checking to see if you're paying attention, because I was listening to what you said.
I don't miss a thing. I may not always comment.
Okay, number 2, you said Consider putting a variation of commitment. I love this because making it public to the world, to your spouse, to your family, to your peers is a great connection to what you say that you're going to do for yourself.
That's right.
Number 3, you said consider.
Mm-hmm.
Consider, depending on where you're at in life,
That's
in
right.
your
That's right.
authenticity,
That's right.
having an accountability person or
Mhm.
even a group.
That's right.
A group could be 2, 3, 4, 5 people. It doesn't have to be large. It needs to be comfortable. It needs to be intentional, where your values and principles align.
Yeah, let me just say right there what I didn't say. Like, I don't like groups. Can I say that? I'm not into groups. I'm a true introvert. So when one of our brothers, he's a cousin to me, that's in our community, very well-known person, he said, looks like you're enjoying the particular, we're not talking about the King's Accountability Group, it's another group. It looks like you're really enjoying the community. And I'm like, well, person X, I'm still me. We've known each other for 50 years. I'm still me. I don't like no groups. I said it like that on purpose. It's not something I fancy. Like, I just can't bother. But what this is doing is providing an opportunity for me to grow.
Yes.
Not to become someone else, but to receive and add value. I'm not a robot. I wasn't programmed to not like groups. Like, I can overcome some of that.
So
and it's very helpful to my life.
So let me say, so what you're saying that it's okay not to like a group, but be a part of a group.
That's right. Like, did you know that I didn't like groups until I just said that?
I can't say that I did. No, I didn't. I mean, yeah. I know you as an introvert, but I don't equate that with not liking and or being a part of a group.
Bro, every week at a certain time to be in anything that's like a group of something, I'm like, no, count me out, bro. There's another way we can get this done.
Text me.
Text me. Like, I don't need to sit out for no, I'm just playing. No, I'm partially playing. I am playing, but not fully, right?
Right.
But it is of value. This is why I still participate. I'm honest with myself, and it's the first time I'm saying it like to you, like on the camera. Y'all can guess what group it is. That's your business. I'm not telling you what group it is. I'm just saying there's a value in it. Therefore, I must not limit myself by my introvertedness.
Well, I want to say this is a reflection of my wife, right? Because my wife would say the same thing that you just said. Like she will be a part of her group, doesn't mean that she have to like it, because she is a true introvert. Like, she loves supporting and adding value, but groups ain't just her thing. And that is, so what we're saying is it should be clear to the world that it is okay.
That's right.
To be this way and know that there is a goal and intention around being a part of a group. And that should be very, very clear in the goal and objective. Okay.
Yes. Let me say one more thing to interrupt. As you can see, my face is not shining with light anymore. If I drop off, it's because it's raining and I'm going to go indoors and come back on. So if I vanish, that's the reason. I'll be back. I promise you.
100%. Derek asks a question. He says, can you be comfortable being uncomfortable for the sake of growth? Great question.
Can you or must you? If you're not going to listen, let's see, if I wanted to act like I had a whole lot of testosterone, I'd pull these guns up and put them up on the screen, right? Growth requires uncomfortability. You cannot grow. And I know Derek knows this. You cannot grow. I cannot grow unless I'm uncomfortable. You can stagnate.
Yeah.
You can remain status quo, and I'm gonna use a word I just really don't like. I wish it weren't even in the dictionary. It's called mediocre. Like, you can be mediocre.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can choose to be mediocre and say, well, I'm only doing stuff I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
So if you wish to grow and you wish to add value to the planet of people, human beings, real life people live on this planet with us, then that means it's required of us. It is incumbent upon all mature human beings to do things that are not comfortable. I did not say to become, I want to use a word that's PC right now, because I have one that I probably shouldn't say online. You don't have to become a victim. You don't have to flagellate, like beat yourself and bloody your back and say, look at what I'm doing for the cause. Nobody's asking you to do that. Nobody said that, right? But there has to be a level of discomfort in order to grow.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is my wife and I do an annual review. We have a list of questionnaires and so forth, just to do bro, it's actually the coolest thing that she came up with. And
sweet.
And because she's an introvert and because she does things more journal-like, well, she has a list of about 40 questions that we do normally every single year at the end of the year to post-check kind of what's going on in our life. Okay, so suffice it to say, one of the earlier questions in there said, describe one word that best describe you. Mine was comfortable. And when I finished the questionnaire, I said, wow. I didn't think about that in that manner. So Dave, I was like, ooh, no, I need to pivot because I'm constantly talking about my morning routines, my evening routines, my operating principles. Yes. All the boxes checked. But now I have to pivot in a way that says, I need to be uncomfortable in my operating systems so that I can pivot to the betterment and the greatness of myself. So when you said it, I was like, sometimes we can be a good version. And by the way, it is a great version in comparison. But in reality, we're not comparing. In reality, we're still looking for us to be the very best version of us. So that was actually enlightening in a way that says, bro, you've made it and you're doing great, but you're comfortable.
Like, let me do justice to what Derek actually said. He said, can you be comfortable being uncomfortable? I didn't address that part. I'm gonna give it a real quick bust right here. So, whereas I won't repeat everything I just said. We have to become familiar with the feeling of uncomfortability.
Yeah.
To the point that it does not disrupt our mind. So I go to the gym I'll start Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I come back Sunday. I know Sunday's the first day. So Sunday has become like my Monday. Like, people they drag themselves to work, they drag themselves to business, they drag themselves to, because I had 2 days off. Like Friday, I can't go, and Saturday, I don't go, right? So Sunday, I go to the gym and hit the bag. And when I hit the bag, it's crazy. We're not just talking about pity pat. I mean, it's a lot of energy expended. Hands and feet, let's go. So I did that, I do that for a half hour, nonstop. I said nonstop. And then I got up on the elliptical. That's before I exercise, bro. Like, y'all can say that's exercise, but that's not exercise for me. I'm banging the bag out, a 200-pound bag. And then I'm on the elliptical for another half hour. So that's an hour's worth of activity. That's before I work out.
Yes.
Well, I've become familiar with the fact that, boy, I just did an hour of activity and my situation didn't even start yet. I don't like it anymore the next time I do it. I don't enjoy it. I've never enjoyed it, but I've never let the fact that I don't enjoy that. The only thing I enjoy in terms of exercise is cycling.
Yeah.
I don't cycle no more. But I have become familiar with, this is the routine that I have chosen to warm up my body.
Yeah.
That when I get under those weights, I'm fully ready to go. Like lactic acid means nothing to me. I don't even sense that. Like, it burns. I mean it as disrespectfully as I sound. Like, it burns. So what, bro? Like, get it done.
Yeah. I like that. And what I'm hearing you say is that you have put in a routine and a system that helps you burn, but really helps you exercise in a way that meets your standard of excellence. And you and me and us, and we have to create a way that understands where we are, but knowing that we're pushing the limits of our greatness to become the very best version of ourselves. Brother CJ, great to see you, brother. He says comfortable in the greatness. I love that. You know what I'm saying? There's a way by which we have to execute and make sure that our subconscious mind is not getting too comfortable in the manner of what we have just achieved, whether that's 3 months, 12 months, or 18 months.
Yeah, comfort is not a word I use. I'm just saying, like, fun is not a word. And I'm not saying because they're wrong. It's just my terminology. I don't speak that way. So comfort means nothing to me.
Yeah.
Unless I'm resting. If I'm resting, then I relish comfort. But if I'm in motion, comfort is not a word that I use. It's just not my style.
And words matter. Okay, so let's hit our last one, which is, of the 5 ways to keep your word to yourself. You said number 1, write it down, record it. Number 2, make it public in some variation. Number 3, make sure that you understand where you at in your authenticity by having a partner and or an accountability group. Number 4, attach consequences that help inspire and motivate you in a way. All right. What is number 5? What is our final one to help you keep your word to yourself?
Well, I'm going to just go ahead and say I'm not paying nobody, no publishing, but I just want to say, just do it. I know. You've heard that before. Just do it. You have to determine a value, and you don't have to tell the planet. You have to determine a value for your word. Like in my community, like where I grew up, and at the time that I grew up, New York City, 70s and 80s, whereas I am not a part of the 5% nation. That is what pervaded hip hop culture at the time that I was growing up. And one of the things that they did add, though, in a positive sense to the community was word is bond. Like, people were like, they would say that, they would spout it, they would rap it. They didn't know what they were talking. Half the time, people didn't know what they were talking about. But to the community who were teaching it, if you want to say, they were saying that their word is their bond. You want to vex a brother in the 5% nation? Call him a liar. I'm not saying you should do it. Don't do that. I'm just saying, say that brother is lying. Because the principle that he is living by, among others, is that what he says is. In a Christian community, it's the same in a different way, but it's the same. When the Creator spoke, it happened on the basis of his speaking. So his speaking is the power. Not like when I say something and then I have to wait for action or something. When he says, let there be light, it happens by virtue of him saying it. So me now, as a creature of that creator, if I say something, I need to think, hold up. If creator said, I commit this to Tirrell, there is literally no way that creator breaks that. So I have to determine, I'm talking about within my bosom, I'm talking about L. David Harris. Y'all can decide how you want to. I have to determine in my bosom, when I say yes to something, do I mean it? And if I mean it, then only tragic, unavoidable events will cause that not to come into fruition. Because I've already assigned a value to my word. I've assigned a value to my commitment. I have determined that there is nothing worth me breaking my commitment to you, to myself. Therefore, it requires some extreme tragic event, not an inconvenience, not a temporary setback. I'm talking about extreme. I know I said I was gonna,
Listen, what I'm hearing you say, I mean, look, I'm hearing you say determine the value of your word. But on the flip side, I'm also hearing that you, me, and I, and we, and us, we need to determine what that value, what that calculation is to the word that we are speaking.
That's
like rather than be a person that is constantly responding, like sometimes we should just take time to listen, interpret, maybe even bounce it off of a few people that are value added before we make the decision of what we are looking to accomplish.
I think you said there was an art, and it was in a different context, but there was an art to the pause.
That part.
Somebody recently that we both respect asked me to do something very recently. And I had to pause and say, okay, I heard and understood what the request was, regardless of the value of the request, regardless of the messenger, like the person whose voice this request is coming through. Because I have to do that. I have to strip down the who. I have to strip down everything else except the actual fact. The fact is, here is a request.
Yes.
Now I have to determine what will be the response.
Yes.
Once I answered in the affirmative, I didn't need to do this. And I don't know if I should have done it, but I did. I said, call the person Tirrell. I said, Tirrell, I just need you to know that the reason I said yes has nothing to do with what you represent, how massive an impact your request or the outcome of the request can be to the world. It was simply because I believe I can actually contribute in the way that you asked me. That's all that mattered to me. The rest of it, that's cool. Like that stuff kind of gets people off track. It gets people off track. It makes them become inauthentic. It makes their outcomes weak. And then they run out of energy when people call on them to go again, because it's like you never really put your mind into it the first time.
So can I say that there is a, like what you just said is an art. Like you reaffirmed, like there is a way to calculate people's word, whether it's loud or soft or whatever it is. But, you know, I have a friend I've known for 30 years. Like his word is just shaky, right? He says he's going to meet you at 2:00. He really means 3:35.
Yeah.
Like there are people that we know, people that maybe in our sphere, that their word has no value because the consideration of the commitment is very weak. Now, that may be, I ain't talking about you, Dave. That may be you that are listening to and watching a replay. That may be us that are out there making too many commitments. Keeping the word to yourself and then executing on what David just said, just do it, has a mathematical formula to you and I worth.
Wowzers. That's big, man. Hearing you say that, like, I heard what I said, I know what I meant, but hearing it reflected and then expanded, that's why that whole accountability concept matters.
Yes.
Because really and truly, like, I have no control over this platform. Like, if Tirrell puts this out, it's out. We're live. He puts it out and then I run it again. I have control over where I run it again. But this right here, this video right here, is going to remain in public view. And they're going to be like, if I fail, not fail because I'm a human, but fail at being authentic and fail at being committed.
Yeah.
They'd be like, bro, on 11, well, in my time, 11:55, you said X on January 30, 2023. I'm on record regularly on marriage programs, talking about commitment to my wife and my family and my community through the prism of marriage. I can't take that stuff back. I got 185 episodes just on one program that I cannot take back. And so for me, I have a vow. I'm just saying, I'm talking about me. I have a vow, and my goal, because my word is my bond, is to keep the vow, to keep the word.
Man, shout out to Christina who's watching. Shout out to brother CJ who said, be quick to listen.
Yes.
And slow to speak.
Yes, sir.
I love it. Man, we would get so much further in life if we slow down so that we can speed back up. You know, even the little things of what you're saying, Dave, in terms of making the commitment, doing it, you're like just doing the little things, like putting the dishes up after you finish using it. If you made a commitment to your spouse that you're going to keep the kitchen clean, it's the little things in life that reinforces the very item of what we are doing, what we are committing to, what we are involved in.
Yes, sir.
You said determine the value of your worth.
That's exactly word. Exactly right. And look at that. That's my wife coming home. There she go. She coming home, man. She coming home to me, man.
That part.
Yeah.
All right. So guys, thank you very much for watching the live and or the replay. We touched on the 5 ways to keep your word to yourself. To yours, not to me, not to David, not to your spouse, not to your children, but to yourself. That first one was to record it and write it down so that there is a private commitment. Number 2, have the variations of the commitment and put it in public in some form or fashion. Number 3, knowing where your authenticity is, have an accountability partner and or a group. Number 4, create consequences that is in line with your goal and objectives.
Yes,
and
sir.
then last but not least, number 5, just do it. But he said something that is critical. Determine. Determine is a calculation. Determine the value of your word.
Ooh.
I'm screaming over here.
Let it go, T. I know you can do it. Let it go. Let it go.
Bro,
Let it out.
that's like insane because the constant reminder, we've gotten so used to breaking our own word.
Yeah.
That is so comfortable
Mm-hmm.
not becoming the very best version of you. Oh, that's what you said. I'm pointing to you.
Like, I'm trying not to be so like, I'm trying to pull the bravado down, but I need to turn it up. Like, comfortability is for suckers, man. I'm sorry. It just came out. I've been trying not to say it. Like, and again, if you're resting, that's fine. It's appropriate.
Yes.
If you're healing from something, it's
Yes.
fine. It's appropriate. But comfort during growth, come on, bro. Comfort during growth, come on, sis. You can't be comfortable and grow at the same time. You can be comfortable and fall into status quo and be lackadaisical and weak. And I don't even have one of those elitist mindsets that precludes humanity. Like, I get it. You may not want to get up this Sunday morning and go to the gym, even though you said you were going to go there. Like, there are times that your body is just going to tell you, like, not today. Not today. You're going to go in there and hurt yourself. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying that every single time you say you're not going to eat a Twinkie. I don't recommend that you eat a Twinkie at any time.
Yeah.
So it may be the day that you get the little yellow thing with the stuff in the middle that probably does hurt your health. Okay, it does. But it may fulfill something in you that is necessary to help you move into the growth phase. So fine. But do not get lackadaisical. Do not become so comfortable that you cease growth. That is not a good look.
Our scholastic brother Derek said, stop avoiding discomfort. And then brother C said, if I can let down my consistency, it's nothing to let you down. Real talk.
Oh, yes, that's right.
But at the same time, I expect you to go above and beyond. But I ain't. Boy,
I'm a hypocrite. So I'm a hypocrite. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. We have other people's standard. We have people up. We give other people the higher standard, but we don't go above them when we should be way above them, because my word is my bond and my bond is my life.
Hypocrisy makes me itch, bro. That's why I'm this way. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the best way. I am how I am. I am who I am. So this way, the driver is, and I've said it in other contexts, I despise hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Not weakness. We're humans. We can be weak.
Yep.
This flesh, this blood, it breaks down. It gets tired. It needs healing. Fine. But hypocrisy? Me and hypocrisy are enemies. Straight up. Sworn enemies.
That part. Brother David, man, I want to thank you so much, man, for everyone who is watching live, watching the replay on the top 5 ways to keep your word to yourself. Dave, get us out of here, put a bow in what we've been talking about, man, so we can get out of here. This has been amazing today.
Yeah. Keep your word, or keep your word to yourself. Keep your word, keep the commitment to what you said, or don't say it. If you don't say it, fine. But if you say it, keep it in as much as it is possible. Amen. That's it.
And you know what's funny about what you just said? And I ain't trying to prolong it. Ain't nobody gonna miss what you don't say. Right?
Like, I didn't ask you all of that. Like, you're bringing out my Stephen A side, like my back in the day before I knew how to talk side. Like nobody asked you all of that. So why are you, what do you prove? What are you trying to prove to me that makes you want to say all of that and then don't do it? Because I'm definitely going to call you out. Like, you could have saved that. That's me.
That part. Hey, and going back to what the C said, you don't have to just stop. Just pause. pause for as long as you can until you have cross-referenced what you are about to say so that you can commit to what you can actually fulfill and bring it to the universe. Bro.
This dude said cross-reference. The brother said cross-reference.
100.
Make sure you do real research on yourself. Don't just Google it, because Google is not research.
bro, we gotta get out of here. We gotta get out of here. Guys, if you're watching live, thank you very much. Watch the replay. Thank you. Dave, where can they find you on the internet world?
Yeah, don't observe anymore. I don't want y'all watching me. I want you to contact me. If you need something, ldh@ldavidharris.com. ldh@ldavidharris.com. Email me. You don't need to watch me no more. And you're not going to get nothing from watching me anyway. Let's connect. Let's go.
Let's go. All right, guys. Thank you very much for tapping in. You can catch me and us on all social platforms. And as always, let's have a fantastic day and week, regardless to whatever day you may be watching this. We're almost out of here.
Just follow him the whole time in class, the whole hour and a half. You just watch him the whole hour and a half. And every now and then look at him like, wow. Brilliant. And so I sat up front, acting like I was taking notes. The words he was using big. I didn't know the word. I'm just, He said, Eric, you got to change your clothes. I didn't know any better. I'm from Detroit. I didn't know any better. I'm coming to class with the Malcolm X by any means necessary. I didn't know no better. I got Malcolm with the gun.
We just playing We just playing ET. If you never heard of them, tap in as we get up out of here.
You can wear that, like put that outside, and then when you get out of the class, you can put that back on. Right, so I changed that up, had the khakis, the shoes. I'm sitting up front. He said, also read his book. He wrote 2 books. Read his book. Just, you don't have to read the whole thing. Just read a paragraph and then take a question, make a question out of it, and ask him the question in class. So I was like, all right, let me read his book. All right, pedagogy. All right, got it. Boom, ask the question. He's like, Mr. Thomas, brilliant. Meet me after school. I'm like, thank you, sir. Gave Todd my paper, let Todd look at my paper. He said, Eric, here's mine. Use this as a model. Use that as a model, and I was good. The rest, listen to me, I got a 3.5 out of the class. Listen to me, know the benchmarks, reach the benchmarks, and then finally listen to me, young people, you gotta set your own benchmarks.
All right, Dave, we out of here, man. Good seeing you as always. Peace out, everybody.
Respect.